It was late summer in 2013, and work had been slow. As a freelance diver, I made a living repairing yachts and luxury boats for wealthy clients' men who rarely looked me in the eye, but always paid well. The work was solitary, and most of the time, I never thought twice about who I was working for. That changed the day I got a call for a rush job I would never forget. The client was p.diddy Combs. The task? A hull repair on his private yacht. The details were vague, but the upfront payment cash delivered by courier was too generous to turn down. Along with the deposit came a thick NDA, the kind that made it clear I was to complete the job quickly and keep my mouth shut. I had taken strange gigs before, but this one felt different. Still, money was money, and I convinced myself it was just another job. From the moment I arrived at the dock in the Florida Keys, I knew something was off. The marina was eerily silent, with none of the usual dockhands or maintenance crews in sight. The dock itself was secured by towering chain-link fences topped with razor wire. Excessive for a private yacht, but then again, paranoia came with that level of wealth and fame. The yacht was enormous easily, over 200 feet long, with a sleek black hull that gleamed under the setting sun. It looked less like a pleasure vessel and more like something built for war. Armed guards patrolled the deck in pairs, moving with synchronized precision. This was not a standard luxury boat. Something about it felt wrong. At the dock entrance, 2 guards stopped me. They checked my ID and gear without a word before waving me through. A man in a black suit waited near the yacht, standing rigidly as if the salty air offended him. His polished shoes didn't belong anywhere near a marina. He introduced himself as Mr. Black, his tone clipped and impersonal. "You're here to repair the hull," he said, handing me a clipboard. "That's your only job. You don't inspect anything else. You don't wander. You don't touch anything that doesn't concern you. Understood?" I nodded, suppressing the urge to ask questions. "The crew will observe you at all times. If you find anything unusual, you report it immediately. Do your job, and you'll be well compensated." He paused, his gaze sharpening. "But don't overstep." The warning sat heavy in the air. I'd dealt with controlling clients before, but this was different. This wasn't about micromanagement. It was about secrecy. As I suited up and descended into the water, the feeling of being watched never left me. The damage to the hull was easy to spot, a long gash near the starboard side, like it had scraped against something sharp. A few hours of work, nothing complicated. But then I saw the chain. It was thick, rusted, and bolted to the underside of the yacht, far heavier than anything needed for a vessel this size. My flashlight followed it downward, where it disappeared into the murk. I kicked my fins and descended, disturbing a cloud of silt as I reached the seabed. The object it was attached to was a massive reinforced metal container partially buried in the sand. The faintly stenciled word on its side made my stomach lurch. Biohazard. A cold dread settled over me. What the hell was a biohazard container doing tethered to a luxury yacht? The metal surface was scarred with dents and deep scratches, like something had tried to break free from the inside. Against my better judgment, I scraped away a layer of barnacles and found a latch, heavily corroded but still intact. A small hairline crack in the seam caught my eye just wide enough to shine my flashlight through. What I saw made my blood run cold. Beneath the soaked burlap sacks crammed into the container, I glimpsed a human shoulder, pale, bloated, decayed. I recoiled, my breath echoing loudly in my regulator. My pulse thundered as I swept my flashlight across the seabed, spotting another chain, then another. More containers, stretching into the depths. I had seen enough. As I turned to ascend, a shadow moved above me. A flashlight beam cut through the water, locking onto me. My stomach dropped. I surfaced slowly, greeted by the glare of more flashlights and the stiff expressions of armed guards. "What were you doing down there?" one barked. "Inspecting the hull," I replied, forcing calm into my voice. I noticed something that might be causing drag and checked it out. They exchanged looks before one grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. "You stay where you're told to stay. No wandering. Understand?" Before I could answer, Mr. Black appeared. His expression remained unreadable, but his tone was sharp. "You're done for the day. Pack your gear. But the repair, you're done." The finality in his voice left no room for argument. As I packed up, I felt his gaze drilling into me. "You did a service today," he said quietly, stepping close enough that I could see the faint scar along his jawline. "And we appreciate cooperation. But if you speak to anyone about what you saw, there will be consequences." His words were calm, but the message was clear. I nodded. "I understand." "Good." He straightened, smoothing his sleeves. "Go home, enjoy your payment, and forget you were ever here." As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every few minutes, I checked my rearview mirror, expecting to see a black SUV tailing me. When I got home, I locked my doors, drew my curtains, and sat in silence. My gear remained in the truck, untouched. That night, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated before opening the message. "Keep quiet. This is your only warning." My stomach twisted. I deleted the message, but the words burned into my mind. Over the following days, the paranoia deepened. A black SUV parked near my apartment for hours, then vanished. Strangers lingered too long, their gazes locked onto me. Once I found my truck door slightly open, though nothing was taken. A reminder that they could reach me whenever they wanted. I never took another diving job after that. Whatever was down there, chained to Diddy's yacht, was never meant to be found. And the people who put it there were making sure it stayed that way.